I was feeling so overwhelmed by all the mountain of to-do lists that I had given myself, which I didn't even need to do, but I gave myself a mountain of things to do in this business because I just assumed that that's what you were supposed to do. You're supposed to create all this list of stuff to do and then you do them. So I was just making up stuff off the top of my head and overwhelming myself in the process, crying every single day because nothing was turning out right, feeling so defeated when things wouldn't turn out right, or if I just couldn't understand stuff like how to build a freaking website from scratch and me trying to do that all in one day. I just felt so stuck in this business. I'm seeing all these small business owners who have 6-figure businesses. They're over here like, I'm getting 6 figures this week and that week and this month. And I'm like, why can't I even just get $1 something? But no, I wasn't getting anything. And then I'm watching people just coming in, surpassing me. And I was miserable. All I did every single day was mope and cry and mope and cry, which there's nothing wrong with crying. I am a big crier. I've gotten a lot better though. It started off very tumultuous. That's a hard word for Elmo. Anywho, it started off very bad. I was watching all these other small business owners and they just seem so happy in their business. And I'm listening to them give all the advice, all the tips on what to do. Buy this printer, start your website, get your domain, pick your brand colors, little things like that. And I did all those things and I just couldn't figure out why it wasn't working for me. This is supposed to be my dream. Now, of course, we know that it doesn't exactly go like that. And if you don't know, I'm here to tell you, it doesn't exactly go like that. Like if you're just starting out and you don't know, I can understand how you could think from the outside looking in at other small business owners that that's how, entrepreneurship goes. But it doesn't exactly go like that. And it doesn't exactly go like that for everybody, but it can happen. And I think that you can have fun in your business. It can be a success. You can see the sales that you want to see, and you can experience the level of success that you want to experience. But I believe the reason why I wasn't seeing the level of success in my business and I wasn't experiencing, all of this like fun, enjoyment, and fulfillment from my business was because I was going about it the wrong way. I was doing things like focusing on the wrong things, the things that weren't going to bring me the fulfillment that I wanted to see. They weren't going to bring me the sales that I wanted to experience in my business. They weren't going to offer me that level of happiness and joy that I wanted because I was doing things that were out of alignment from myself. I was so focused on the product itself or the service itself that I didn't even have a customer at the time. So who was actually going to even buy the things that I was trying to sell when I had no clue who my ideal customer was? I was stressing over fabrics and supplies that I was at Joann's every day to the point where they knew my name. Like I was coming through the door and they'd be like, oh, hey, you're here again. And I'm like, okay, embarrassing. But at the same time, yes, because I loved it. I felt like I was on Project Runway when I would go in there and buy fabrics and stuff, spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars that I did not have at the time. I loved that aspect of it. That made me feel like I was having a lot of fun. Every single month making up a new website, but never actually launching it. I was getting so lost in the fun of changing the colors and things like that. But when it got to like putting up the products and the back end stuff, I was just like deer in the headlights. What am I missing? Why am I not having fun in this? It got so bad to the point where I was standing here in my very disheveled and messy office / studio here. Don't look at the mess. But I was standing in here holding these sewing patterns in my hand at the time. And I'm just like, I cannot figure this out. I have been at this for years. Maybe at the time it was around like 5 or 6 years. And I barely was scratching the surface with like the sales, the visibility, the engagement and things like that I wanted to see. Nobody was interested in what I had to offer. People were telling me things that they wanted, but I didn't want to make those things, and I didn't know how to make the things that they were asking me to make. And it was like they just weren't seeing me. I felt like I was so misunderstood and people didn't see me. They weren't hearing me. and it felt miserable. It's the best way that I can put it. Like, it absolutely felt miserable. And I just chucked those sewing patterns here on the floor, and I ran into the living room, and I just plopped myself down on the couch, very dramatic. And I just laid there on my couch and I cried. Hear me out, because there was a range of other things that were going on, like in my personal life. It was kind of still recent that I had my thyroid surgery, completely had a thyroidectomy. So I was still feeling the effects of that, living paycheck to paycheck, trying to get this business to work all at the same time. And so I felt like I was at my wit's end. This fashion business has to work. If there's nothing else other than this, then this is it for me. So I'm laying there on the couch, I'm crying my eyes out, and I am just like at my wit's end. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Where am I supposed to go from here? I'm like dramatically hitting my pillows and the couch, and I'm just like letting out all of the frustration and pain and hurt and just defeat of years of trying and feeling like I'm just going to give up because there's nothing else, It turned really dark that day. I had no one to call at the time because it was so late. Something told me, stop crying, like get up, stop crying, and figure a way out of this. Those were literally word for word. That's what I kind of like subconsciously heard in my brain. I went to Google and I searched how to get out of depression. And that little search changed everything for me. That little search right there just changed the game for me. And what it led me to was like a lot of mentors, coaches, strategists, even a monk here on YouTube. Like, I was just watching a host of like personal growth, personal development stuff. Mentors like Erin May Henry, for example, who talked about, becoming the coolest person that you know. And she's just one of many, but her messaging on becoming the coolest person that you know really just intrigued me so much. I was like sucked into that because I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is what I've been searching for like a lifetime, it felt like. And even at the time, she wasn't even as deep within that messaging as she is today, and it made sense to me, and I related to it, and I was like, yes, this is exactly what I want. This is what I'm looking for. I don't want that like hustle culture kind of mentality in my business and in my brand. And at the time, I had no idea what a brand was. I was just so focused on, like my products, my services and things like that. And, fabrics and all of those things. Like, I was focusing on those things. I had no clue what a brand was. Your brand it's your story, it's your messaging, it's your fonts, your colors. There's brand, there's branding, there's strategy and everything in that. There is a breakdown that helps you to understand exactly what it is you want to create. So your vision, your mission, your messaging, down to the content, down to the way that you'll even market your brand or your business. Branding will take you far. The business is more so focused on you making money. Like, business is the exchange of goods. So when I was so heavily focused on that, it was like this. It was like just business. And I saw nothing else. And when I finally discovered all of these different coaches and mentors and things like that, and strategists who started talking about building a brand, I was like, this was mind blowing. This was like, why isn't everybody talking about this? Because it led me down this path of like, talking about the things that I was struggling with. My brand colors, my fonts, my messaging, my story, the content that I post. Like, I was struggling so much with creating content to the point where I was literally reading from a script, writing everything down word for word for word, because I couldn't get through a YouTube video at the time. And this is not even my first YouTube channel. This is probably the third one. And now today, here I am, just winging it, but winging it with strategy. Now I can come up with a topic. I can put some bullet points. I know what I'm talking about, and I know why I'm talking about. And it's because I focused on my brand first. And I know you're probably asking me, like, what the heck does this have to do with having more fun in your business? Well, I'll tell you, I'm glad you asked. I now have more fun in the things that I am doing. As you can see now, I'm actually smiling in my videos. And why am I smiling in my videos? Is because I actually know and I understand now what I'm doing. I understand, again, I understand the basics of what I'm doing. I understand the type of content that I want to post now. And I understand the type of people that I'm even talking to, and not just like made up stuff. Like, these are things that actually have happened in my life. And I'm here to like share my story. I know how to do storytelling now, where I'm telling the story and sharing my experiences with my audience, the people who genuinely want to hear what I have to say. And I'm not just speaking into the void of people out there, who don't really care about this. I have a specific audience, a specific group of people that I'm creating a community for, who actually want to hear what I have to say, who actually want to purchase things from me, who I'm actually creating products and services for, and content, and, and altogether a like-minded community for. That's what I do this for now. And all of that happened because I started listening and I started focusing on my brand versus the business. Nobody really tells you like how to go about that. So like, how do you go about building your brand, and how do you go about having more fun in your brand or your business or even in your life? And this was something that I felt like wasn't talked about a lot, which is like the how do you actually do that? And while there is an entire branding process, and I mean a process, it's a few steps to the branding process. But I know a lot of us, me included, a lot of us, we don't have time to like go through the whole branding process, or we feel like that's going to take so long, and then we feel like change won't happen for us immediately. And I know that feeling, because you feel like, I don't have time for this. If you're here with me and you're feeling the same way, and you feel like you just want to have a little bit more fun in your life, in your business, and you just feel like miserable or just a little unhappy with how things are going, or you just want to see and experience some change, here's my advice, is to ask yourself, what does fun look like for you? Like, if you could wake up every single day, you can live your dream life, you can have the business that you want to have. What does that look like every single day for you? I mean, like, what does that look like for you? Not like what it looks like for this other business owner over here, or what people are telling you that you should strive for, 6-figure businesses and stuff like that. Like, if that's not you, then it's not going to be you. It's not going to feel aligned with you. So I want you to focus on what exactly brings you joy, what brings you happiness. I know that's a loaded question, and it's a hard question, because sometimes we just don't know. Like, we don't know what brings us joy. We don't know what brings us happiness. And this is something that I had to do too, because I'm like, well, I don't really know. And then also, it's sometimes hard for us to dream big, especially if you're living paycheck to paycheck, especially if you grew up anything like me, where, you just didn't really have that, like, how do I say it? You don't really have those like role models who teach you, who inspire you to dream bigger than you've ever dreamed before. I felt that way myself. I'm just a girl from Chicago, and I'm like, that's never going to be me. So here's exactly what I did. So I wrote a list of things that I was unhappy with. And I did 2 separate lists. So I wrote a list of like my personal life. So what was I unhappy with in my personal life? Any and everything that I'm unhappy with. This could be down to, I want my nails to look a little bit better. I started buying polishes that actually make me happy, like different colors and things like that, experimenting. So it could even be as simple as that. It could even be big things like, I'm unhappy in my relationship or something like that, or with the relationships of people around me. I don't feel like people get me. I don't feel like people treat me very nicely, like things like that. And just list every single thing that you possibly can. Don't overwhelm yourself with it. But as you get to it, just start listing the things that you feel unhappy with in your personal life. So for list number 2, I created a list for my business. Everything that I was doing that I was unhappy with or that just felt like it wasn't working, I wrote all those things down. My brand colors weren't working. I wasn't happy with that. I wasn't happy with my website. I wasn't happy with the products that I was creating. I wasn't happy with a lot of stuff in my business, let me tell you. So I wrote all of those things down. I think this is important because it really puts it out there. It gets all of that, it just gets it all out on paper and you physically can see it then in front of you. And like, this is what I've been experiencing. This is what I've been boggled down with. And it's just been affecting me mentally even. And now I can see it here on paper. This is where I can start with. So once you have this list, now you can see the things that you can start working towards changing or pivoting some of these things or thinking about how you can make it better. And you don't have to do the entire list right away. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. There are some things that are going to be long-term goals that you have to work towards to change them or to make them a bit better. The easiest way I see to do this is to focus on some of the easier things first. Like, for example, my nails. I wrote down in my personal list that I wasn't happy with my nails, So I started buying nail polishes that made me feel a bit more fun, a bit more playful, a bit more happier. It's a simple thing that I could easily do today and that I can implement change in today to start seeing some progress. I wasn't happy with my brand colors, so I changed them. And so a simple way that you can even change something like your brand colors today is you can go around your house, your apartment, or you can look in your closet. Pick 3 to 5 of those colors that you see around you most, because this could be an indicator of like colors that you naturally enjoy and you naturally enjoy seeing all the time. And this could be a good indicator that these are great brand colors for you. And once you start seeing those little bits of progress, things start to change. You start to feel like, oh, I feel a bit happier. I'm starting to feel this sense of peace and happiness. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I thank you so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comment section if you took anything away from this video. I thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Slide to the left.